Hey guys, this is Trevor and Rory back with another episode of the Streamers Become Human Analysis series. This
Hello, everyone.
this week we're going into DMC4 as a continuation from last week's DMC original trilogy.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's a lot of key stuff that happened here. And DMC4 is also like one of the coolest games ever. So a lot of the changes that we're going to be talking about, I think we're very positive. I'm very positive towards this game generally.
Yes, same. So the intro of DMC4 is quite different than the original series because
Mhm.
it actually adds an unfamiliar face, which is the new protagonist, Nero.
Yeah, so it's a really bold thing. We talked about a bit the other week on how DMC3 you can play as a different character. You can play as Virgil, but this is a different thing. When you start the game, you have to play as Nero. Yeah, like that he's your new guy.
Yeah, like it's no longer a Dante game now. It's like a Nero slash Dante game, and I would argue it's more of a Nero game than it is a Dante game.
DMC4 is definitely more of a Nero game. I agree. And that's a really kind of brave thing to do because you've had 3 games and 2 good ones establishing Dante as the protagonist, and to like turn that on its head, like for the 4th game in a series is really brave, and it's really unconventional too to have, or at least for that type of game, it's unconventional to have 2 different protagonists that you play as throughout the action of the game.
Yeah, because through 1 through 3, it was like Dante, and then I think 2 you could play as Lucia, or I think that was
That's
her
correct.
name, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
But other than
Uh,
that, that's the only time we ever saw like a different protagonist that you could play.
Yeah, exactly. So this one, it's good in a way. Like, while it may seem a bit unusual, like, oh, everybody's expecting to play as Dante and they have to play as Nero now. It's actually like good in a way because it really forces you to start caring about Nero's story, like immediately. Like they kind of go all in on that, which I think is a positive thing. And also, Nero, as me and Trev were discussing before we started, Nero doesn't really play like Dante at all. Like they are very different characters.
Yes, that's completely true.
Yeah. So it's a new challenge because the series is all about gameplay challenge and stuff like that. So they really maximize that by saying, okay, now you have to learn a whole new character and
And I think
explore all of what he has.
so with a lot of the games, like if they do a character switch or like a gameplay switch, I think a lot of games and like series in general kind of fail at doing that. And I think
Yeah.
DMC4 actually did a really well-rounded job with making you play a different character, but still making it fun and like rewarding as if you were playing Dante.
Definitely, yeah. It's still there's just as much to discover about Nero, and it also it's cool to play a full story from different perspectives. Like the game is better for having that feature.
It
Um,
kind of like the different perspective thing kind of reminds me of the critically acclaimed Pulp Fiction, where it was like it was this perspective, and
yeah,
then like you watch this perspective, and then it was like, oh, this happened because of this, and they were over there while he was doing this.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, you learn a lot of different stuff. Like it's a bit of a different story than DMC3. It's probably not quite as straightforward, even though the DMC3 story is excellent. They're like the perspective changing adds like a bit of complexity to the story, and I think it is a stronger story for it.
Yes. So the last time we got a DMC game was DMC3,
Hmm.
and that one had the special edition, which came out in 2004. And then the very next one that was the iteration of the series is DMC4, which came out in 2008, which is a whole 4 years
2008.
later.
Yeah, and therefore it was on a new console because these had been PS2 games, so now we had a brand new console, and it was actually one of the first things I remember. So that it came out in January 2008, right? The actual game itself, and the PlayStation 3 came out in November of 2006. So it wasn't quite a launch title, but it was definitely an early title, and there was a demo available on the PlayStation Store, And that demo was like what made me fall in love with this game, was playing that demo. And it's just like it's a very little thin slice of the section with Nero, as I recall. But like having a brand new console and a brand new DMC game, like I think it really benefited this game to have that, because it looked really good.
Yes, because we actually had 3 DMC games on PS2, which is quite a few if you think about it. Like,
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, in some ways it was a PS2 series, and some things are, they're only series on a certain console, and when that console dies, the series dies too. But this is not one of them. This came out really strong with a PS3 title, and a PS3 title that looks like a PS3 title. If you go on YouTube and watch there'll be B-roll footage actually in the background of this. You can see that it looks a lot better than DMC3.
Yeah, the comparison between 1, 2, and 3, and then to 4 is like you can tell it was definitely on a newer gen console.
Definitely, and I think it helps for. I mean, I don't know much about the console business or such, but I think it probably helped with the PS3 too, because it was good. The PS3 came out and they had Devil May Cry 4 on the PS3 coming early, and also another early game was like Metal Gear Solid 4, right, which is a new console for that as well, same sort of thing. And having these legacy series have good and new entries on your new console, I have to imagine helps generate hype around the PS3. When I played the demo, I was like, oh, PS3 is going to be really good because it's going to have games like this.
Yeah. A point I want to touch on is this the first time that DMC was actually on something that wasn't just PlayStation? Because if I remember, it was a simultaneous release for this and Xbox, was it?
For this and Xbox, yeah. Let me think. Was it actually a simultaneous release? I actually don't know about that. Hold on, let me.
Because I want to say that the original 3 were specifically only on PS2.
They came to other stuff later,
yes.
but
yeah, at the time of like when the PS2 was out and like the newest console, I think it was strictly a PS2 series.
Yeah, actually, I think that's probably right. Actually, I don't think what was the equivalent of the PS2. It was the original Xbox, right?
Yes,
that was the one. Yeah, it never came out for the original Xbox. So yeah, I think it was. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, this is probably the first one that was actually released on a couple things. I didn't even think about that, but that's true, I guess.
So that must be weird for Xbox people who are picking up Devil May Cry 4 and they're like,
4,
where do I play the other ones?
Yeah, so many games in. Yeah, exactly. I think the same thing happened in the reverse direction with Mass Effect. I think they all got ported over eventually, but I want to say like Mass Effect 2 was the first one to go over or something. Yeah, that's a really weird. I wish I knew someone who had it on Xbox and only played that one.
Yeah, I wonder what the not the design choice, but like the ultimate like choice was for doing that. Like I don't know why didn't they keep it with the exclusivity to PlayStation, and this time they're like, oh, we'll just put it out on everything.
Yeah, that is puzzling, isn't it? Yeah, because I mean it's sort of, even in my mind, and you and I both have all the games on like everything, yes. But like we even though I have them on PC and I think they're great and they run great and they look great on PC, it's still in my mind and in my heart it's still like I always think of it as a PlayStation game.
Yeah, I always think of it as like a forefront for the PlayStation like title, and like frontline it's like DMC, all right, that's a PlayStation title to me.
Yeah,
even though it's on everything.
Pillar. Yeah. It still feels like a pill. Like I say, like Metal Gear Solid, like DMC, like Resistance. These are like console pillar games.
Yeah, these are like staples for that console, and it's just like, oh, but it's not just for that console.
Yeah, if Halo came out on the PS5 or whatever, like, first of all, that'd be very strange and is never going to happen. But if that did happen, we'd still all think of Halo as an Xbox game.
Yes, I don't think I'd know PC, anybody right? Who'd be like, oh yeah, Halo's that PS4 game. Like, no, Halo's, Halo's the Xbox game.
Yeah, exactly.
So as we've mentioned quite a few times, DMC3 was the first one in the Devil May Cry series to have a special edition.
Mhm.
and it was not going to be the last, as DMC4 did not get a special edition immediately, but it did get one some odd years down the line.
Yeah, it wasn't until so the game came out in 2008. Like we said, it was an early PS3 title, and then it
Yes.
got a special edition in 2015.
Yeah,
Which
and like the was it the beginning or like the second year of the PS4 lifespan?
something like I wanted. Yeah, did the PS4 come out in 2013 or 14? I always forget. I know, I think it's 14 because
I
I
think it
think
was
last came out
2014. Yeah,
2013.
because I'm
Yeah,
I'm
yeah, yeah. That
pretty
sounds
sure
right.
I graduated when everything was transitioning.
Yeah, yeah. So it was like an early title then for the consoles and that released on everything. That was on PC, it was on Xbox, it was on these are Xbox One and PS4. So there's another console gap now where
Yes.
DMC4 gets a new console release, which is so sort of like it's strange to think of that happening.
It's bizarre because we went from getting 3 of a series on one console to getting one, and then to getting another one, but the same one on a different series. of
On a yeah,
consoles.
on a new console, exactly. Yeah. So there's a huge gap, and I don't know how. Like, I mean, the special edition is great. I wonder how many new fans it attracted, though. I wonder if like anybody who didn't play DMC4 the first, because I still feel like when DMC4 came out, I still feel like back in 2008, Devil May Cry still felt niche to me, even though it was the fourth line in a series of games everybody loved. Like,
Honestly, same. I feel like a lot of people who played it were obviously original fans of the series, and like I didn't really hear anything about new players picking it up. And like, man, how did I miss Devil May Cry? Like I never really heard that. It was more just like, oh yeah, I love the PlayStation series, so I picked this one up. And then
yeah, exactly. And I think as well, part of it was like hard games were still not as much in style as they
yeah,
are
they
now.
weren't as like cool to play as nowadays, where it's like everything's compared to like, oh yeah, this is Dark Souls because it's hard. It's like nah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Dark Souls has made hard games fashionable, but back then people were like, "Why would I spend all the time?"
Yeah,
learning
back then
how
it
to
was
play?"
like, why would I become a masochist? Like, why am I gonna
Yeah, yeah,
spend all this
exactly.
time losing my hair, stressing out on these fights?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So the I wonder if the special edition brought any new people, but in terms of new people to the game, the special edition was awesome. Honestly,
Yes.
like it was
And I
well
want to
worth.
say they didn't even do any like super huge marketing. I remember I only figured out there was a special edition because one of my friends, who's also a Devil May Cry fan, like tagged me on Facebook of this like Japan trailer that was like, oh, special edition coming out, and then at the end it was like available now in Japan, and then it said like I think it was like July or something when it randomly came out. It was like pre-ordered now for USA. And I was like, what? I was like, this is a Japan only trailer and like you can pre-order it in the
Yeah,
US?
yeah, really. Yeah, yeah. I feel like it wasn't particularly well advertised, but now it's available and you can get it on everything.
I'm
And
also pretty sure it was only a digital like game. Like I don't think there was any physical copy you could buy.
I don't know. I never owned a physical copy, but I wonder if you could. Which is funny because probably when Devil May Cry 4 originally came out, that was when disc only was a lot more popular. Like there are
Yes.
old like PS3 games that if you look for digital copies on the PS Store, they just don't have them. They're like, yeah, this is disc only. I don't know what. Like so like that's another thing about these console gaps is you change the way games are delivered completely. Because like early PS3, like I say, it was still a disc world. Like PC gamers may not understand. If because I've been a PC gamer for a long time, and on PC, we gave up on discs like forever ago.
Yeah.
But
There was no like back in the day the struggle was insert disc 2 to continue, and then like once you got to the next point like insert disc 3 to continue. It's like, oh
yeah,
man.
exactly. Yeah. Like we've had Steam forever, like we like, but like yeah, with consoles, it was like still.
Yeah, you had to have the disc. Like there was stuff you could buy digitally, but the storage that came with the system, like I think the original PS3 only had like 80 gigs, and like
There
now
were
that's
two versions.
laughable.
There was a 60 gig and a 20 gig, I think, which is like
20 gigs. That's how much games have come. Like 20 gigs is one update for like a game now.
yeah, literally. Yeah, no, yeah, I just double checked. Yeah, yeah, it was a 60 and I had a 60 when like the launch
Oof.
PS3.
I had the first Slim edition, and I think that was 120, and I could barely
Oh,
fit
okay,
like
yeah.
two digital games on there. And I
Yeah,
was
and
like,
I
what
mean
the
now
hell?
that's like, with like Warzone or whatever, it's like 150 gigs or
Yeah,
something.
Warzone is like 4,000 gigs because like every
Yeah.
update just adds shaders.
It's like 8 PS3s from the 20 gig model. So that was another interesting thing. And in terms of like mechanics that were changed, just like the Devil May Cry in Devil May Cry 3, you now had a bunch of new options for how you could play the game.
Yes. But unlike Devil May Cry 3, it wasn't just adding one character. This one actually added all the like quote unquote main characters of the game.
Yes. Yeah, yeah.
So you could play as Virgil, which is no surprise because he was the playable character in Devil May Cry 3 Special
Yeah.
Edition. But this one also added Lady and Trish, who are two other key characters from Devil May Cry 1 and 3.
Yes, absolutely. And who also play, like as we mentioned when, they added Nero, and Nero is like playstyle very different than Dante and a lot to learn. It's the same thing with Virgil and the same thing with Lady and Trish. They all play completely differently.
Yes. Like,
Um,
just because you know how to play Nero and Dante does not mean you know how to play Lady, Trish, and Virgil.
yeah, exactly. And I would say Devil May Cry 4 has like, for a game that has like, it's not super super long, but it has so much replay value because not only because we were talking about Devil May Cry, part of the point is you replay it to get better, right? You get a better style ranking and stuff
Yes.
like that. You get better at the combat. Now you not just replay it to get better, you replay it to play as different characters. So you replay this game like a million times. Like,
And that's only one character. Then you add in the effect of having multiple characters that you can do multiple playthroughs of. Because
oh
I'm
yeah,
pretty
absolutely.
sure in Devil May Cry 4 Special Edition, there's I think 8 different difficulties. It's 8 or 7. It's
Something
something.
like
It's
that.
something
Yeah, they're
outrageous.
quite a lot. Yeah, so you could there's so much potential here for content. And so like you can pick up, the Devil May Cry 4 Special Edition. Like you could pick that up on Steam nowadays for like $25
Yeah,
and
and if it's on sale, it's like $4.99. It's relatively really cheap.
yeah, exactly. And it doesn't take a whole lot to run it. And so, you could pick that up and you get quite a lot of hours. You get well more than $25 worth of hours.
Yes, and I just want to say it looks amazing still. Like for a game that came out, what is it, 5 years ago? I
Yeah,
think
yeah,
it looks
5 years ago now.
super good still.
Yeah. Yeah, and was the special edition of a game that came out in 2008. And yeah, it still looks amazing. It like I think there's something about Devil May Cry. It's like they don't go for realism, but it's realistic enough. But the art style really ages well. Like it's not too realistic that you're like, oh, we can represent this so much better now. Like it's more artistic than anything else. And so I think it's still even vanilla DMC4 has aged pretty well.
Yeah, like they actually like carry and like put the effort in to make sure it looks great.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So in prior DMC games, the way you would upgrade and the way you would buy items and such, it was all stemmed from red orbs, and red orbs was kind of the goal. That was the money of the game.
Yes.
But in Devil May Cry 4, and now I'm pretty sure it was base game 4. It might
was
have
base
been.
game.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay. It was, yeah, base game 4. They introduced this thing called Proud Souls, which is like a I don't know how they did it. I think it was like based on your skill rating for the mission. They would give you more or less depending on how well you did in each category, like time, orbs collected, damage taken, item used, etc. Like,
Yeah, it's like another thing on top of what was already there. And it wasn't phenomenally well liked by a lot of people who found it to be a bit grindy.
I could
But-
see the approach they were going for, because like the other games were so orb heavy that like I feel like a lot of people thought that was a lot of replayability to get like the certain upgrades that they needed or whatever. So they were trying to like split the cost of like skills and like items between the two.
Mm.
Because you earned them both at the same time. It wasn't like you only earned proud souls if you did one mission, and then the next mission you would only earn orbs. You earned them both at the same time. So it wasn't like you had to do double the grind.
Yeah, exactly. The yeah, it was an interesting thing, and it was an experiment, I guess you could say, with a new type of like in-game currency, but it was ultimately an experiment that nothing really came out of it. Like they didn't keep it ever in any other game.
Yeah. It was introduced, and then it shortly never got introduced anywhere else. It was
Yeah, exactly. So they like gave it to go, and it was kind of, I guess, kind of an interesting attempt at something new. But you know, ultimately, just one of those experiments. But I mean, definitely, even though some people didn't love the Proud Soul system, I will say I don't think it dampened in any meaningful way the enjoyment of the game. It's still a great DMC game.
Yes.
And I think largely all the stuff they experimented with the new characters and all the updates they did, I think basically everything else that was tried at DMC4, which, as we said, it's a very adventurous game, a new protagonist, and a special edition with a whole bunch of stuff. It's on a new console. I think basically everything else succeeded really well.
Yes, I agree. One point I want to kind of point out about Proud Souls is that had an interesting concept, because it wasn't like once you spent them they were gone like orbs. You could actually spend the Proud Souls to get a skill and try it out in like a Bloody Palace or like a basic mission, and if you didn't like it, I remember you could refund the souls.
Right. Yeah.
And then try out a different thing. So that aspect I could understand why they added something like that. So then like if you didn't want to have to grind, and you could just try out different moves and skills and be like, okay, I'm not going to use this one as much, or this one seems better than this one. But yeah, and the special edition, I'm pretty sure this is when there was like a little controversy, because they added the ability to just purchase, I think it was Proud Souls and Red Orbs. It might have been just one, but I want to say it was like a combination of both. You could buy Proud Souls / Red Orbs.
Yeah, and this is, of course, this is a genre where that kind of thing being introduced is going to be an issue. Yeah. Like anything where you can buy anything is kind of like, it's,
because these aren't meant to be like pay to win games. These are meant to be skill exceeds, and that's what gets you better stuff.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like we talked about how, DMC being hard was intentional from the beginning, right? Like it was a part of the design. They wanted to make it hard, and that's what the players end up really liking. And I think when you introduce a new system like that into a single player game, that a fan base is really passionate about, and they're really passionate about that kind of thing not being in it, you're gonna get some pushback there for sure.
Yes.
And they absolutely did.
I want to make a note. This is not entirely Capcom's fault, because as these games transition to the new generation of consoles, the thing that opened up the new generation of consoles was microtransactions. So it was more of a hit or miss with whether the game was going to have them or not. I mean, obviously nowadays, unless they specifically state there are no microtransactions, they're going to have it.
Yeah, I guess this is an interesting point, because I guess because we talk about console gap, right? And yeah, you're right. The one of the things that has also happened in the console gap is this gap of the way business seems to be done with video games. So not, I guess maybe, not all aspects of the console gap are positive. We think about all the great things about new consoles and stuff. We think about the better, graphics and gameplay and stuff like that we can access, but we also have, what comes with that is a more modern game business practices, which doesn't always sit too well, especially with fans of a long time series that goes back to the PS2, when microtransactions were a thing that they were fiction, right? They didn't exist.
It was either you bought the base game or you bought the special edition, and if you bought the special edition, that was kind of paying for the quote unquote included microtransactions.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, once you buy the game, your business relationship with the developer sort of ends there. Or at least that's the way it used to be.
That's the way we should get back to. but
Yes, I agree.
yeah.
I
Thanks,
quite like
EA.
that as well.
So all in all, DMC4 was a welcome addition to the Devil May Cry series, and I think they've only gone up from 3 to 4, and then continuing on to 5, which we'll get to next week.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm very excited to talk about 5. And yeah, DMC4 is just was a great game, and like we say, it's easily one of the greatest things about it is that it's accessible to you no matter what you own. So if you're, on the current gen, the about to be last gen of consoles, you can get DMC4 for relatively cheap. And if you're on PC, you get to experience it as well. And I guarantee if you get it, you can sink a lot of hours into it. If you end up liking Devil May Cry.
Yes. This is one of those games that will like test, and like if you're not skilled enough, you'll know, because you'll constantly fail at doing certain things, and you'll obviously get rated like D ranks if you're not doing all that well.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, I will say this game doesn't attack you with the difficulty quite as much as DMC3 does at the beginning.
I feel like that was an area they toned it down, because I remember 3 was super like hard, and then 4 was slightly easier.
Yes, I agree. I think 4 was slightly easier, but still very skill based, but definitely easier to get into. So I think it's safe to say that you and I would both really recommend to people to give DMC4 a shot.
Yes, if that's the only like easily accessible one that you have access to, because like getting some of the original trilogy may be like finicky with the resolution being off, or not being able to run it, or not having like access to it. Like DMC4 does a good enough job at like introducing you to the playstyle and setting and like mechanics of the DMC franchise.
Yeah, I hugely agree. And we'll be back next time with the last in the series, which is the discussion about DMC5.
Yep. Until then, see you guys then.
See you.